What's up, y'all? I'm Murren, and I'm Modman. In this series, I'll tell you all I know about modding the famous anime game, so hopefully you can make your own mod soon. And yes, it is time. After a lot of questions about when I will finally make this video, I decided to do it. This video will be about how to make actual custom characters, like custom modeled characters. I'm not gonna cover the entire process of modding because I covered a lot of stuff already in older videos, and it would take too long for me. I'm not gonna make an hour-long video just to do character stuff. I will also not explain how to custom model objects. I think that there's enough videos on the internet already on how to model something in Blender for me not to have to repeat that. But I will mostly talk about the process of starting to do something like that and what tips and tricks I have for you to make it an easier process. The mod that I am using right now is a mod that I made myself. It was a mod request in AGMMG. It is also fully custom modeled. However, I will use a male base body, specifically the one I made myself, because the base body for women is unfortunately very NSFW and I cannot really show that on YouTube. So, let's get straight into it. The base body I'll be using is the one that I have posted in my Discord server. You can find it in the description. And it's just a zip file with some textures and a base body inside of it. So what you can do is you can just download this file, and that's fine, and you can open it. Oh, in here is a blend file and a few textures. So let's just copy this file, and then in here, let's go to Blender Projects, Base Models. Of course, I already have my own thing, but I'll just paste it here. And over here, I have the blend file and the 3 texture files. So let's open the blend file. And as you can see, there's a beautiful froggy and a lot of text. So this is the base body by me. There's a few things you need to do using a base body, and I will show them right now. So let's close this area. As you can see, it's textured for you. The nipples apparently don't have a texture loaded right now, but it's fine. So the first thing you can check out is if you go to the object data properties, you can see a lot of stuff here. These are called shape keys, and basically they are sliders to change specific stuff about the model. I can explain how to make shape keys, but I don't think that is relevant right now, and I will only explain how to use them. So in this case, first off, if you want to model an adult character, you can put, just slide over it and you can put it to 1, and now it's a perfect size for an adult character. Or you can just keep it on 0 for, a teen model. Then you can use a shape key to adjust the thigh size, and I have also a shape key to adjust the specific parts of the thighs to be bigger to create a more muscle definition. Of course, the bigger ass on high request, and the crease underneath. And so you can pretty much check all the shape keys out to create a body that fits whatever you specifically want to model. However, I also have 2 specific presets that have a combination of these shape keys. So just setting them to 1 either has like a typical twink / femboy build, and another one that I have is a muscle base. However, I accidentally used the adult one in this as well. So if you want to make a muscled teen character, then you will have to drag the adult to -1. So yeah, once we chose what kind of body we want, so let's just say in this case, I want a muscled man, I put the muscle preset to 1, or the other way around, I can just use the femboy one. There is still a texture preset for this shape key. So if we go into shading, and we take either of these 3 textures, then I can take the femboy one, which is specifically shaded towards this shape key. So as you can see, there's a crease line following the shape key that defines it, the chest has shading, etc, etc. Next up, what we're gonna do is apply all these shape keys. So if you're in a new enough version of Blender, I'm on 3.3.1, then you can just literally take this little button and press apply all shape keys, and they will be applied and the mesh will now look like this. Alternatively, if you're on a newer version, you have to like disable all the shape keys, and then from the top to the bottom, remove all of them, and they'll also be applied. So that's two ways to do it, but of course preferably you use the apply all. And now we have a base body to work with. So there's a few things to note. First off, the body is weighted to Razor's armature because I used his model as a base for doing the upper body and stuff. So to actually make these weights match up with another character, you would have to take that character and use Silent's VG remap script, which you can find on here. Blender VG remap. You can just literally copy all of this and then paste it in your scripting tab over here. Paste it over here, or well, you can, my bad. You can just create a new one by clicking on the double paper and you can paste it over here. And you can use that to change the numbers of all those vertex groups to a body that you want to use. You should do this before sculpting the rest, because otherwise you will have to weight multiple objects separately, which is a pain to do. So now we have actually importing this thing and setting the shape keys and whatever. Next up is actually modeling the clothes. So I have a few tips and tricks for modeling the clothes. First off, if you want to model something that follows the shape of the body, for example a t-shirt or a pants or whatever, the easiest way to do that is literally just going into modeling, selecting everything that you need. For example, if I want to make pants, let's select on UVs. Yeah, this is fine. Like that, and let's deselect the upper part. Like that. And now I just have the proper shape for pants, and I can just Shift D to duplicate it, and now I have a pant shaped thing. Separate it by pressing P, selection. And now I have a separate object that is called body.001. I'll just rename it to pants. And of course, right now it literally clips inside of the rest of the body. So to fix that, we can use modifiers. So there's already a subdivision modifier. We can ignore that. And what we can do is, I need to find it real quick here. The displays, it looks like two separate triangles. You can take it, and of course it looks really weird right now. That's because the strength is insane. The strength is pretty much how far it gets displaced, so 0.001 should be fine. And as you can see now, it doesn't clip into the body anymore, it's just an overlay. Next up, UVs. Of course, we don't want the UVs to be in the same position as the rest of the body, because we actually want it to look different. So what we can do is we can take these, move it together a little bit. And that's why what this black square is for. You can use this part to put your own stuff in and then texture it. So now he will just have black pants because that part is black, but you can texture whatever you want in here on the black part of the texture file. So that is how you can create specific clothes. You can do the same for the upper body, of course. However, for example, if you have the crease of the muscles and whatever that you want to get rid of, you can just go into sculpting, use smoothen is my favorite, and you could basically just smoothen it out until you have no longer, until you no longer have the muscle definition and just the general shape. Alternatively, you can decimate the shit out of it, but that makes messy topology, so I do not advise that. So once you have modeled your clothes, you have other things like accessories. For custom modeling complete objects, I recommend using other tutorials. But to, for example, create the skirt that I created in my Barbados mod, you know, the venti archon skin, what I did was I wanted to basically draw out the shape of the skirt. So what you can do is in here you can add a plane. I'm gonna make it a little smaller and I'm gonna rotate it a bit and move it, and move it up, my bad, and a bit to the back so that it like aligns with his waist kind of. Now I have this random plane here, and of course you're thinking like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? What we can now do is we can subdivide the shit out of this. So I usually do like around 11 times. And then I have a sort of grid. I can now either draw on this, or what I prefer myself to do is delete half of this. So I only have, I wanted to delete faces. And now I only have half of this, and I can just add a mirror modifier on it. So now we have a plane with a mirror modifier, and we want a specific shape. So I'll just use the skirt of Barbados as reference, and this is kind of like a few pointy stuff. So what I can do is I can press K, just like the K button, and it gives me a little knife icon. And what you can do with this is you can literally knife, like cut through a mesh. So I'm gonna take this perspective so it's properly flat, and I can take, let's just say, I can literally just use this to draw on this plane, like this. And then go back up. Oh, almost forgot. No, that doesn't look very good. It's just a matter of drawing. What you can alternatively do is draw something in paint or on paper first and overlay that as a texture on this plane, so you have an easier way, an easier time drawing this kind of stuff. But now it's basically just a matter of, yeah, drawing the shape of the cloth that you want to add. This is becoming kind of messy. I'll just use more straight lines. There we go. And we can then press enter once we have drawn the entire thing. And what I forgot is I had to be in vertex mode so that I would only select the vertices that it would automatically select all the vertices that I have like cut out. But now I just have to manually select all the lines that I have drawn, which is not too bad either. I can take all this, which is the shape that I wanted to draw, and I can take mark sharp, and let's mark this sharp as well. And then I can use link select. Oh, here it went wrong. Let's clear that sharp and mark this sharp as well. And what I can do is I can literally just select this based on sharp, then invert the selection and delete all these vertices. And now I literally just have the shape of the skirt that I wanted to have. There is a few faces that I want to extra delete in here. And once we have deleted all of that, we exactly have the shape that I wanted to have. So I can now clear all the sharp markings. I can move it to the left. And now it's time to be sculpted, wrapped around the waist and whatever. So you can just use the knife tool to basically draw shapes on a simple plane. But you can also use this technique, for example, to create like body stuff. So for example, let's just say I want, what's it called? I'm blanking, hold on. I want a watch. I can use the knife tool to basically draw a watch over here. Let's do it like this. Enter, and as you can see, it just selects those edges. Now I can select those faces. And I can duplicate this, separate it, and once again displace of 0, 0, 0, 1. And now I just have a watch. Once again, I gotta fix the UVs, of course. Let's just put it there. And then you have a watch shape. So just by drawing onto the model or onto planes, you can create a lot of shapes. For how to sculpt stuff, I also recommend looking at different tutorials, because there's plenty of modeling tutorials out there already that I don't feel the need to re-explain. Another thing that I want to point out is make sure your UVs actually work. Like, you have to check that all your UVs don't overlap, because otherwise your texturing will be a mess. So that is the base concept of actually creating clothes. The hard part of custom modeling is waiting. So to open, I'll just open a new Blender window actually. So in my Blender projects, I have a lot of shit. Wow. Here, EULA rec. So the thing that I showed earlier, the EULA mod that I showed in game. Of course, when we look at EULA without mods, she doesn't have a dress. There is nothing around her waist that we can use to actually like weight a dress to. So how do we do that? We need to use alternative ways. So if we go back into Blender, to look at how I weighted this, first off, I weighted a lot of it to the waist. Of course, the entire thing even is weighted to the waist, even this down here, it's all weighted to the waist. Why? I want to maintain the position properly. And if I want something to be not as affected by other weights, then I want to weight it more fiercely, more heavily to the waist. And if I don't, then I weight it less less strong. This makes sure that the position of the top of the dress is always the same and doesn't get moved around the wrong way. Then what I did not do here, which I should have done, is the front of the dress should be weighted to the thighs. So if we look at the thighs, over here it's 105 and 82. If you look at the dress here, I have 105 on the right here and 82 on the left. This makes sure that, as you can see, when the legs move up, that the front of the dress also moves up, which is a very natural movement if you refine the weights good enough, so that it doesn't clip, like when one object goes through another. And you basically get a relatively natural movement. For the back of the dress, I recommend weighting most of it to the heels and the thing, because of course your thighs, well, the thighs of a character never move back a lot. You don't really move your legs entirely back a lot IRL either. However, your knees bend, for example, when jumping. You don't want the foot to literally go through the dress. So for the bottom of the dress, I recommend weighting it to the lower legs and the feet. So here I have 85 and 62. In the dress, I have 85 and 62. Of course, here it's weighted quite fiercely because I didn't make use of any other weights to create a dangling effect. I will talk about it in a second. So to avoid clipping, make sure that the back of the dress is weighted to the lower legs and the upper part of and the front of the dress to the front legs. This creates a sort of movement that is natural because it looks like the foot is pushing the dress away. which is like quite a desired effect if you want a naturally moving dress. Lastly, which is something I did not do here, but for that we can take a look at my venti mod. So let's change my party setup real quick, and let's take a look at Barbados. So over here you have the skirt that he has, but if we toggle off mods, you see that there is no skirt thing on his actual waist. There's only the cape here, but of course that is angled around his shoulders and doesn't rotate around his waist. So how to use that, we can take a look at that Blender project if I can find it still. I think it is here. This one, I think. So, if we take a look at the weighting of this dress, I know it looks horrible. I really need to remodel it because it's ass. But let's just look at the weights for now. So, we can look at the weight 116. As you can see, it's quite heavily weighted to the waist here because I didn't want it to move too much. Because in game, the movement of the cape is very aggressive. It flops very aggressively. And if I would have that on the skirt as well, then the entire thing would just fly up into the air, which would look really questionable. So to take a look at how I actually weighted this, if we open, I don't have base venti here, so let's import that real quick. Genshin models, characters, venti, there we go. These are the imported ones. Yeah, so let's disable this real quick. If we take a look at these comparisons. So in the vanilla body, let's get to weight paint, you have like the center is weighted to 89, 90, 91, 92 on the right, and 95, 96, 97, 98, 99 on the left. In my mod, I kind of mimicked that. So I used only the right side because otherwise it would split. So I used only the right side and I had 88, 89, 90. And that is basically following the animations that this cape here follows. However, I could not, for example, weight it to 92, for example, because that really goes all the way to here, this position. But I don't want this dress to go all the way to here. So it's like just making use of, a lot of smart tricks to achieve the animations that you want. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a tedious process. I have probably spent around as much time weighting the skirt of this mod as I have weighting the rest of the thing. And it's sometimes just not possible, but a very high amount of things is possible. You just have to be smart in the way you weight it. For example, if we look at if I wanted to have Eula's dress to have like wind effects and stuff, I could look at her base body. So first off, she has a cape on her back. I can use the weights of that cape to create a wind dangling effect, because as you can see, it has like ambient animations when she stands still. I could have added that to the dress. But for Venti, for example, well, the cape, but let's look at Zhongli. He has a cape himself. Razor has a cape himself. I need to find a good example. Hold on. Bennett, for example, doesn't have really a cape, but he has those like strands, belts on his waist that you can use to weight an entire dress to if you want. You could weight an entire dress to only the animation of his vision here, these strands here and here. You can't do that. Edo has a cape himself, Albedo does, Wanderer has a cape, Kazuha has a cape, Xiao has a cape, I don't know where he went. Lumine has a cape, Ear has a cape, Sheen has a cape. Why do all the characters have capes? So child is another example. So you could say like, okay, it has barely any movement. So how can you do an entire cape to that? First off, you have this thing on the back, but also these things move. This part of his dress moves. This part of his dress moves. This part moves. That is all animations you can use. It's just a matter of looking very closely to what kind of movement specific parts of a character have and using those. My mods are not showing up properly anymore. There we go. So yeah, it's a matter of spending a lot of time actually looking at what moves in a character and how you can use those movements in a custom modeled object. For example, Razor, he does not have tailbones. However, his tail is weighted to the cape he has, and it kind of looks normal when he walks and stuff. The same goes for the dress with Eula, the cape with Venti. Zhongli doesn't have any peculiarly weighted stuff. But for example, to use Zhongli as an example, his emblem is weighted to his thigh, so that it like moves when his leg moves. It's just a custom object that is randomly stuck onto it. Just weight it to the proper thing and it will move. So custom modeling characters with outfits that don't have bones for it, it's hard. It's definitely not easy, but it's doable. And it's just a matter of how dedicated you are, in my opinion, because there's always something that moves the way you want it to move. Always. The last thing I want to talk about when we are talking about custom modeled characters is please do not half-ass your textures or light maps. The way that you perform your textures and light maps and the way that you detail your textures makes such a difference in how your mod looks. For example, I textured this myself and it looks kind of boring because it's just a flat color. While something that someone else textured for me, let's look at this. It has the little details everywhere. It has the little line around his chest rings. The wings have outlines on it. It has little gems on his neck and whatever. Oh, I accidentally just jumped off a building. You can do so much with just textures. You don't even have to use like actual shading to create a detailed character. I hope that helps for you. A video about how to actually work with light maps will follow soon, as well as a video on how to work with inis. I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, really. Don't be afraid to steal shit from other characters. If you want to change hair, just steal it from another character. No one will even care. If you want to change, I don't know, just steal from the original character, or like this flower here. I did not custom model that. It was literally stolen from his original model. So don't be too afraid to just copy paste shit, because if you do it the right way, then you can do a lot. If you copy paste it the wrong way by half-assing shit, you won't get very far, but that's another story. So yeah, long story short, custom modeling characters is not necessarily easy, but it's not super hard either. It just depends on how dedicated you are. It's also a lot of trial and error. For example, your first custom modeled character won't be perfect. Definitely not. Don't expect it to be. Same goes for your first weighting, etc. You just need a little bit of practice, a little bit of help. Feel free to join into VCs in either of the servers in the description, because you won't be perfect directly. Trial and error is what will get you very far in this niche part of the community of Genshin. So yeah, I hope I covered enough. If not, then feel free to ask questions. And please subscribe. I still want the content creator role in AGMMG. So I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.